What does it mean to me to be an American? This is a really interesting question, and a very big question.
I think it's a opportunity.
It means I have to keep fighting for my rights as the oligarchs, the fascists, the capitalists take them away.
It means to be yourself and to be free. Because, you know, around the world and in a lot of other cultures, they have this idea of collectivism and, you know, everything that you do is for your family and for everyone else around you. But here in America, you know, it's about being an individual and making sure that you make a way for others while still being yourself.
What a loaded question. For me, I feel like it means everything. I grew up in Russia. I just looked up the exact place last night, actually, and I cried for a couple of hours. I had no opportunities, no amazing education. So getting out of the village and actually getting an opportunity to come to America and then becoming an American citizen, it means so much because I actually was able to build my life. I could give opportunities now for my family. And I have crazy ideas. The things that I do for a living are a little out there and not traditional, and I can do that in America.
For me specifically, I guess it's more just kind of being proud to be a part of the country and knowing that your ancestors and grandparents and things like that didn't have that same right or luxury.
As a dual citizen born and raised in Canada, I didn't have an American upbringing. So all I knew was from vacations, news, books, and movies. I was always fascinated with the idea of America, and the older I got, the more curious I became about what it even means to be an American. I had my first American experience when I moved to Austin in 2012, and in the years that have followed, I've been to 42 states. I've met amazing people from all walks of life, and in 2016, I interviewed over 150 people about what it means to be an American.
Well, for me to be an American means that I get a chance to follow my dreams, be the person that I can be, and also to really embrace freedom. I stand on the shoulders of greatness. I stand on the shoulders of so many people who gave their lives, especially as Black people, to allow me to be the person that I am, to be able to speak my mind, to walk around freely, and I don't take that for granted.
Really to respect other people and their cultures, because it's a place that's very different no matter where you go with different people, and that's kind of what's great about it.
I think coming from an immigrant family, being a first-generation college student in America, it means to me that if you work hard, you get what you want out of that.
I have the freedom to worship how I want to worship. I have the freedom to be who I want to be. And our country, for the most part, allows that thought process to come to fruition in all of us.
You're asking me on the 11th anniversary of the before and after event of my life. My very dear cousin shot himself at 24 years old, 11 years ago, and died. So that's my lens today. He was a sergeant in the Marine Corps. He was recently back from Iraq, and he'd also been one of the first into Afghanistan. So one of the things I think it means to be an American is a loss of innocence.
You know, I became formally an American at age 79. One thing is that it was a choice, a deliberate choice. To be able to select the country to which you become a former citizen is quite a big deal, and I chose to be an American. All my 3 children had become American citizens, and they had children of their own. I have 6 grandchildren, and 5 of them are natural American born.
And I'm proud to be an American. For me, it means I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. And the giants are the people who have served here in the country that I live, but then also, you know, in some respects, more importantly, in other countries, to be able to give me the freedoms. I've done nothing in my life to get to have the freedom that I've got, to get to have the options. I mean, it's a Sunday. I'm drinking a Coors Light beer. I'm wearing a gold cape. I'm not having to, there's a myriad of things I'm not having to do right now, and that's nothing of my own volition.
Cause I don't pledge allegiance to the interest rate or any cop who would stop me up on the interstate. I don't pledge allegiance to you because you've been a fake. Go assimilate with your microwavable dinner steak.
And I love my country. And I love our veterans who fought hard for our freedoms.
When you were talking and you said you're American and you're proud of it and it's the best place to, the best country, you said? I don't agree with that. I think every person thinks their country is the best country. And for Americans to say America is the best country, it sort of makes me embarrassed for the other countries. How do they look at us and say, how can you say your country's the best? You know? So that's how I feel. I'm still glad I'm an American, but I don't think it's the best country. You know? I don't think there is a best country. Next question.
2016 was an interesting year to be asking about what it means to be an American. I talked to some people with really strong feelings about their American identities, and others who had never really given it much thought. For whatever reason, I've always felt at home in the US. But the more I experienced the country and talked to people, the more I realized that I wasn't alone in wondering, am I an American?
Am I an American?
Am I an American?
Am I an American? Am I an American?
Am I an American?
Am I an American?
Si soy americano, am I an American?
Am I an American? You mean, am I about to become a Canadian?
That's another thing.
Am I sensing that you don't necessarily identify immediately as an American?
No.
Okay, so how would you say that you, like, what do you identify as?
I mean, like, I'm kind of like part of like a lost peoples because I'm like African American, but we don't know where in Africa.
Okay.
And it's like, you know what I'm saying? So, but I was like born here.
Okay.
So I'm supposed to be American, but I'm like, nah. So then it like leaves like a question mark. I mean, like my name is like a slave name, slave master name. You know, like a lot of us, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's kind of blurry, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, because even though like, you know, African descent people have been for a couple hundred years, there's been a lot going on since that time. So it's like, you know, broken families, broken homes, drama, people moving, nobody keeping track, and like all the other drama, which I don't got time to go into. You know, it's like, all right, I know my great grandmom, like, you know, but as far as like, you know, like even I can't think of no lineage kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like somebody say African American, what is that? You feel me? It's a continent. You feel me? Like ask me anything beyond that, like, you know. So, you know, yeah.
Okay.
That's a complicated question. It's a complicated answer. I think it means different things to me now than it did years ago. And I think it's some good and some bad. I'd like to think there's more good than bad, but I don't know.
So what would you elaborate on in terms of the good?
It seems as if being American used to stand for sort of being independent and everyone having an individual voice and everyone being represented and sort of fighting for the small guy, and as time has gone by, it seems that America stands for something different and not something that I always agree with.
I'm at a Donald Trump rally in Warwick, Rhode Island right now. I'm currently skipping macro to be here. I love my education and all, but to be able to support someone that I've been supporting since the beginning and have them come to my area is an opportunity I couldn't miss.
What's an assumption that people make about you because you're a Trump supporter?
They assume I'm a racist, a bigot, I don't have a brain, I'm uneducated.
When we were protesting a couple of minutes ago, and there's an individual who's a Trump supporter, and we had a reasonable debate discussing the issues, and they agreed with us on a lot of issues. Now, if you were to actually converse with these both sides, you'd realize that they're saying the same thing, it's just they're not united on the same front.
Trump and Bernie Sanders on the other side are exposing the corruptness of both parties, and that's what's causing the anger from both Democrats and Republicans.
Are you saying you align with both?
I align in the fact that we're all fed up with the current system. I feel that there's so many people that can't stand other people's point of views, and that most people aren't as open to other views. So I hope one day America is everyone can at least respect everyone else's opinion, and one day be able to get along with everyone.
This democracy, or we call it a democracy, makes demands on us all. If we don't respond to those demands, we could well see the whole thing go down the drain.
What does it mean to you to be an American?
Yeah, you know, it's been a fluid thing through my life. Growing up, it meant being a citizen of the greatest country on earth. As I've gotten older, it's changed. I don't have nearly as positive of a view of it. You know, my view of myself as an Indian has shifted, especially in the last 2 years. I'm very cognizant of the fact that I am an immigrant, and I'm a brown immigrant, no less. You know, it was adoption, but even that's coming under fire now.
I have the right to, you know, speak up and challenge my leadership and ask questions and hold my elected officials accountable.
So Pennsylvania, right now, what's just happened, you're part of a little bit of a wave of women across the state, and there are also some people of color alongside they're changing the shape of Pennsylvania politics. What does it feel like to be a part of that?
It's super exciting. I mean, there were 24 state Senate seats up. 24 of them, we had Democratic challengers. Of the 24, 17 were women.
I keep thinking we're going to break that ceiling. And I don't just mean president, but we still haven't. I mean, my first jobs were in companies like Mad Men. I'll have my girl do it. Getting coffee and that sort of thing. But we still don't have enough CEOs or EVPs or principals or head surgeons or legislators, although this week was good. So for 40 years I've been thinking we're going to make it, we're going to be peers, we're going to have as many top-level jobs, as much acceptance, and it hasn't happened yet, but I don't give up.
So for me, what it means to be an American is I have these two thoughts, these two dominant thoughts. I'm proud to be an American, I serve the country, but I also know that there's a ton of people and a ton of institutions that don't fully accept me, it feels like, or don't fully accept me always. I feel like in the past 2 years plus, there's been this emboldening of bigotry, and some people, it seems like they're hiding it in this effort to be less politically correct, which oftentimes is I'd like to say some racist stuff and not get called out for it. It seems like there's a backlash, like there was this dam, like I was talking about, like you suppress all these things instead of dealing with it. And it feels like that dam is broken, and everybody feels free to say and do what they want to do, harass people, make it blatant, you know, instead of hiding it under, well, I'm just checking you out, to you're a black person, what are you doing here, kind of thing. I saw a picture of a guy voting on Tuesday, and he was standing at the voting machine. He had a white T-shirt on. It had a Confederate flag with a noose in the middle of it, and it said Mississippi Justice or something like that on it. I don't think I would have seen that when I was in the 90s, or when I was in Mississippi. I think it's not just in public. Somebody may have a shirt like that they wear around the house or whatever, but I think that's just somehow some people have gotten the signal that that's okay.
Let's talk about the white people calling the cops on black people and how cops deal with black people. I spent a lot of time in Plum, and you were the only black person that I was ever able to find.
I think about that a lot. I think about because I'll be driving around with a white kid in the back seat a lot. And a few weeks ago, I don't have to go a few weeks back, but I remember a few weeks ago, a lady called the cop, and she followed this guy. He was babysitting two kids. He was good friends with their parents, and she was sure that something was going on, and she called the cops. And one thing that I am worried about with this, calling the cops whenever, as customer service or tech support or whatever, whenever a black person is not being adequately deferential to you, is that cops and black people a lot of times ends up bad, and you're just introducing that conflict where it doesn't need to. We need less of that, or at least less of that in an antagonistic, circumstance. And so we're just increasing the likelihood that something bad's going to happen.